welcome to the recruitment training during 2025 graduate training exams and the introduction to recruitment training. Please, if you can hear me, before we go into the training proper, if you can hear me, just uh, type in your comment section. I can hear you. So I'll proceed into the training. So I believe just to lay the you're going to see a link to download. In case you're unable to open it, just click on it and download a fresh one. Then, if you're having any issues trying to listen to this training, I rather suggest that you check your internet connection and ensure that it is working appropriately. So we'll just go straight into the training because there's so much to cover, and I believe that we should be able to sort this out in less than an hour. Just for a bit about that. Okay, so just quickly open your slide. The training material that's been shared with you. So today we are discussing on the introduction to the recruitment training. Remember, this is a sub-learning part of the broader training, which is the recruiter, but we're taking the learning portion. We're taking the learning we've broken the learning into three different portions, and we're starting with the introduction to recruitment. Let's launching courses. Then we'll talk about job description and as well as job specification. We need to understand what exactly are these. So I believe I'm going to be running so fast. Please, when it comes to before I proceed, we're going to be taking the questions, but that's going to be at the tail end of the classes. Please, if you have any questions, just pen them down. When we're done with the class for today, just we'll open the floor for you to type out your questions and I'll respond to them accordingly. So I don't want to be going back and forth with it. Then if there's anything that is unclear, also take note of that. Just write it down. We'll just deal with all that together once the sessions are open for that particular one. Okay, so now who should attend? Definitely is those who intend to pursue a career in human resource management. To believe that if you are taking this particular training, description will be done in this. Okay, so now let's go straight into the module for today. That's module 1, dealing with recruitment. What exactly is recruitment? I want to talk about recruitment. That's if I were to be asked for you, what exactly is recruitment? In a few words, just summarizing them, we'll say it's identifying, interviewing, and hiring. That's what recruitment is all about. But we're saying that for someone who is enlightened, say, okay, identifying, interviewing, and hiring, what does that mean? To a layman, how do we explain this properly? But to someone who is who is new to these things, how do we explain what it means to identify, interview, and hire a talent? Now, when it comes to recruitment, what it means is that let's take for instance now, there is ABC company that needs to hire a recruiter. So now, what does it mean? So let's say it's ABC company needs to hire a recruiter. So the process of ABC company identifying, interviewing, and hiring the recruiter is called the recruitment process. That is what it is in a nutshell. So if I were to say, let me give another example. Let's say at Choice Talent, we need to hire a personal assistant. So the process of identifying who is qualified to be hired on this role, or who is qualified to join the team of Choice Talent as under the personal assistant role and to effectively function in that capacity, then interview a particular candidate and as well as hiring that candidate. All this process combined together is the recruitment. It's known as the recruitment process, or it's called recruitment. That's what it is. Now, I want to do another example. I'm going to do 4 examples so it's much more clearer to each person. Now, let's take, for instance, we want to hire a factory manager. Now, we look at the factory. There is a lot, with the company, this is an asset for the company. A lot have been spent to set up the factory. So we're looking to hire a factory manager. Now, to say who is definitely going to fit in as a factory manager? Someone who has the quality of experience that we require to handle this, to manage the factory, to take on the responsibility, to take on the supervisory activities of the factory, and as well as manage this factory excellently well is who we are looking to hire, right? There are other things that may be that like the criteria, but these are the things we're going to get to that particular place where we'll talk about the criteria. Like how do we determine that this person is the right place? Because when it comes to identifying, how do we person is qualified for this role or can function effectively for this role? These are the kind of person that's where identifying comes in. Then we'll talk about interviewing. Now, I want to interview this particular person. Remember, interviewing is not just about just asking questions. Yet, it's about we're going to get into that particular person. It's about have about this particular person to ensure that who we have is exactly what we are looking for. Then at the end of the day, we'll go through the hiring process and bring this person on board the team. That is called the recruitment process, such that if Mr. Alex was hired for the role of a factory manager, we can see, oh, Mr. Alex, who was hired, is qualified and competent enough, well experienced to manage the factory, such that the factory will not shut down because we hired Mr. Alex to function on that role. So that is very, very clear here. Okay, and if I will give an example, let's take for instance, we are looking to hire a teacher. We're looking to hire a teacher for a school, and let's say it's a mathematics teacher. So now, how do we identify that? How do we identify the right person to fit into this role? Remember, this is a teaching role, and at the same time, it is the subject in question is mathematics. So now, how do we ascertain that? Let's say Mr. Bode is we're considering to hire Mr. Bode, and if we bring on Mr. Bode, we can say okay, that Mr. Bode is qualified. Mr. Bode is qualified and competent to not just only teach, but have the ability to communicate that knowledge to pass on that knowledge to students, manage the students excellently well. Remember, the learning environment is different from the workplace environment. So how we hire Mr. Bode as a teacher is not the same thing how we're going to be hiring Mr. Alex as the factory manager. They are two different processes. So that's what we call about identifying. How do we effectively identify who is fit for this role, interview them by probing all the information that we have about them, then finally we hire this particular person, which is through the onboarding process. Now let's go on to talk about the importance of recruitment and the purpose. Now, recruitment determines the present and the future of manpower requirements. Let's take, for instance, in an organization, if you're going to be hired as a recruiter and you're working as an in-house recruiter, because we have different, you can be a freelance recruiter, you can be an in-house recruiter. So now we're working, let's take, for instance, that you are a freelance recruiter or you're as a free under the freelance recruiter mode, under the in-house recruiter mode, sorry, the in-house recruiter, your job is to work with the HR to forecast and to determine the manpower needs and requirements of the organization. Take for instance, we just came out buying a lot of things. How does it impact the market? Now, take for instance the manufacturing. Remember, the manufacturing organizations have to manufacture more in order to the demand in the market. Because the things you bought for one, things you used to buy one, let's take for instance, the families bought more. The family used to buy one of a particular commodity, increase the quantity that they require because of that festive season. So it means that the manufacturing companies are going to increase their production, right? An increase in production practically means an increase in workforce. So you see how these things play together. So an increase in workforce, it means that the HR and the recruitment team are a step ahead to ensure that the organization does not fall short of the manpower that it requires to function effectively. That's what we're saying here. So it is very clear, right? So the HR team determine the present and the future. So now, remember, in determining these things, we were able to say, okay, do we need these people on a full-time basis? Do we need them on a part-time basis? Remember that first season that I just described now was a surge between the ember period. And after the ember period is over, the surge is no more. So it means if we're hiring those people on a full-time basis and on a permanent basis, it means that we're going to be having we're going to be overstaffed when we are done with the first season. So it means definitely if we're going to be hiring these people, it's going to be under contract. So that's exactly where this comes in. So you see that when it comes to recruitment, that it determines the present and the future need of manpower for an organization. I just use a manufacturing company to do that analysis. There's more to that. Then we'll go ahead to talk about number two. It says it presents and that is, it prevents disruptive business activities. In an instance where the HR team is unable to predict effectively well, or it is unable to predict effectively well by either underestimating or by estimating the number of manpower that is required, there's definitely going to be a problem. So if there's an overestimate, then there's going to be a redundant workforce by the time the surge is over. But if there's an underestimate, it means that they're going to be short staffed, and the current workforce are going to be overworked, and there's going to be cases of people falling sick and unable to the absence from work and the rest of that, because there is an extent to which anybody can take stress. Then thirdly, it says it's improved the organizational credibility. You see, a HR team that is very good at this, that have understood the ability to forecast the manpower requirements for an organization. You see that everyone is happy because as an employee, you are not overworked. Everybody works normally. Then there is a good out view. So people who are outside, they don't say, "Ah, these people they always work. They are always overworking their staff," but it's going to tell. And at the end of the day, so with there is a good there's a goodwill from the public, and also a goodwill from the employees to the organization. So this is exactly what recruitment does for an organization. Then talk about the recruitment process. Let's move on to that. Because we're going to the fastening of the training. So now the recruitment process and method. Of course, when it comes to recruitment process, what do we do? Now, before we go into the methods properly, take for instance, I'm a recruiter, and my the head of HR reaches out to me and says, "Hello, I want you to give me I need a personal assistant for to assist me with my job function." So now, what am I going to do as a recruiter? Now, I'm going to ask certain questions to help understand what kind of personal assistant is she looking for, of course, or is he looking for. Then, of course, a, a personal assistant who works that might fit, that is suitable for Mr. A might not be suitable for Mrs. B. So everyone has what they are looking for in a personal assistant, of course, because they are assisting that person personally. That's what you see. They are assisting them on their job. So okay, take for instance, if the personal assistant is for me, do for me will be different from what another person might need the personal assistant to do for them. Of course, there's going to be a central point of what they do generally, like booking and scheduling meetings and the rest of that. But there are some kind of basic things where the shoe pinches me practically. Why that is, which is one of the major reasons that I may be even needing the personal assistant in the first place. So if it is just a generic job function, I will definitely just continue with what I'm doing without necessarily needing a personal assistant. This is very clear here. So it is important for us to know that as a recruiter, you're going to have basic information before you begin to start the recruitment process. So now we're going to get into those basic information. Of course, that's where it comes to job analysis and the rest of that. We'll discuss that subsequently in the training. So, but the process of recruitment and the method includes advertising on job sites, career sites, job boards, social media, and as well as the other industry publication platforms. That's one the process of that. Then another one is assessing organization, the organization's talent pool or database. So now, for instance, there's definitely going to be, as an organization, we definitely must have people who have been applying to us prior to the time we need or we have need for this opening. So now, I'm I decide to either advertise or assess our talent pool or assess our database to see if we could get credible candidates from there. Then there's another one which is considering employee referral. I could ask of that employee to that is my fellow colleagues to refer someone who is competent for this role after getting the basic details for that role. Then we could even do a shuffling where we can you can still see me back on. I need to be certain that we are still live. Please go ahead and just type, type out in the comment section that you can hear me. Okay. So all right. So if you can hear me, All right. So I think I'm going to proceed. I'm going to start all over with the number two, with the number two section again. I'm going to start all over again. So we did the introduction to job analysis when the whole thing went out. So now I'm going to start all over, discuss about it. So now when we talk about job analysis, I was saying something about um I was saying, please, if you can't hear me, try and see. Maybe you can just move around. Maybe network. I think we've been having a lot of network issues for a okay. So okay, is it okay now? I think it's better now.